Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate episode 115. Tonight, we are going to be talking with Nova winner Wynand Coert about his run, all of his fancy gadgets, and why he will never run Trickshot Han again. With that being said, we will also be covering the new AMG Store Champ Kit update letter, I guess. Like, I want to call it a letter to the community. Because they actually had two letters, one to clarify Store Champ kits, and then another letter to kind of have a conversation with some of the more volatile people in the community. So we're going to be having that conversation a little bit tonight, as well as the update for Store Champs. With that being said, let's bring in my co-hosts for tonight. Please welcome to the show, JJ, the returning Lions fan, who will no longer be a Giants fan. Gridiron, how are you tonight, sir?
I like to make that just for the year because I lost the bet. And, Chris was so nice to even send this lion to go with this Lions hat. So he's going to be my co-host on my side for tonight. Yes.
So did we show images? I can't remember if we showed images of the Lions
Yeah,
hat
we did.
I was originally going to buy you. But it wasn't on sale on Amazon. I couldn't find it. I have no idea where it went, but we were going to buy you an actual Lions hat. But that would kind of be a dick move because it would have taken up like your whole face.
The entire thing, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a pain in the ass.
So hot. Yeah, exactly.
So I was at least nice and gave that to you. With that being said, let's also bring in the bench warmer, no longer the guy who has won 2 store champs, but still doesn't have his store invite. Welcome to the show, Alex. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Can you imagine winning 2 store champs with scum and still not getting an invite? Love it.
I think that's why you don't have the invite is because they're scum. They were
censorship is what it is.
Yep. It was AMG was like, you know what? We're gonna make a new decision. Anybody that wins with scum automatically loses.
I mean, could you combine both of the players from your store champs into one single one and, make one of those store invites valid?
Well, we'll get to that. JJ, we'll get to that in just a minute. Joining us as the guest tonight, the Nova winner. How are you tonight, sir?
Doing very well. You guys are very hospitable.
Well, thank you. We try to be hospitable.
Till the end of the podcast.
We're not drunk yet, so there you go.
Oh, you're not drunk yet? I must have made a mistake then. Starting off drunk.
I got to say, Chris has the highest tolerance out of everybody. So
I see the whiskey bottle over on his side. He walked into frame with the whiskey bottle, so I expected a little different.
You don't like scotch? It's
I love
Dewar's,
scotch.
Baby. Dewar's 12-year.
I'm looking forward to our meetup.
There you go. Well, hey, hopefully when we get to both go to Adepticon here in March. Yeah, in March.
Yeah, March.
We have a long time. We have a long time until March. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at that point, I will be honest with you. I prefer other scotches, but for the money, the Dewar's is probably the smarter bet for it. So I can't afford a Macallan bottle every week. That would drain my pocketbook. So my wife would kill me. But anyway, welcome to the show, everyone. Tonight, we are, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about the winning list tonight. But what I want to do before we get into any of it is just see how everybody's week has gone. Because hopefully, everybody's had a good week. JJ and why you guys both are coming off Nova. I think you have to travel farther because you're from California, aren't you?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, so you had a little bit farther of a flight than JJ had, so you had some recovery you probably had to do.
Well, I'm going to say and reiterate that meeting people for X-Wing is very nice. JJ was casting for Gold Squadron podcast and doing a very good job of that. I went and listened to the games that you cast. And it's one of my most favorite parts about this war game is that the people are so nice. And I think, I met JJ out of the blue. I didn't know who he was. And he just was so well-spoken and available that here I am today. So I think X-Wing has a real nice advantage on other war games. Because I sat there and I listened to 40k Shatterpoint shit. Our Armada players, like, they're not cool. Like, they're mad at each other for whatever reason, and X-Wing really has an advantage in that field.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, the quality of X-Wing players versus like some of the other games that I've attempted to get into is night and day. And you know, we sometimes let our emotions get the better of us in the heat of a game. But I got to tell you, like I've had some really bad games for me, for my part, where I'm just losing terribly, and at that point, I'm just like, you know what, the pressure's off. Let's just have fun and just have a blast and see how bad I can make it for the rest of the game. And that's the difference, right? Is like even when you're at a really tense event, like you can still have a ton of fun and just talk about it afterwards with your opponent and just have a blast. So yeah.
So JJ tries to credit himself with as the man that got trajectory
Yeah.
wings banned. But
Yes.
what was your record, JJ, that day? I don't think
I
it was
was-
a winning record.
No, it wasn't. I was 2-4 that day. It was just terrible. It was absolutely terrible.
So a 2-4 list somehow got trajectory bomblets banned from standard play. Don't know how you did that, JJ. Good job. All right. Well, either which way, why don't let's start out with our roll call segment. Fear Paint, probably because I don't know, maybe he's heard enough of us talk about it. He finally decided it was something worth having a conversation about. For those of you who are new to our roll call segment, our goal is to review pilots, upgrades, or ships that are underutilized but would be beneficial to have during the current meta. Given that red dice are a big thing and soft mods are a big thing, having that target lock is something a lot of people like to do. So Ferris Fair Paint is a resistance only card that essentially says after an enemy ship locks you, if you are not in the ship's bullseye, that ship will gain 1 stress token unless it chooses to break its lock. AMG edited that. Originally, you just took the bloody stress.
Yeah.
Which I liked the original one. I thought the original one was better personally because it was like, hey, you got to know your opponent's list. But AMG thought that was just too overpowered, I guess. So.
Yeah,
Sure if
definitely.
A-
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if AMG was the one that errated that, but regardless, go on.
Were they? I thought they did.
I don't think they were. They could have been at the very beginning when they took over. I don't recall.
Yeah, I think it would have been one of the first, because I think this happened around the same time when 2.5 came out, if I remember correctly.
It happened at the exact same time they errated Chopper and then Anti.
Yeah.
So I guess it would be AMG. Fair enough.
Yeah. So this is a card that that I wanted to review for this one here, and this one's actually thanks to Ryan Staniszewski. He was the 5-0 player for my day at the day that I played at Nova, and he had this equipped on the majority of ships there, and I think this is actually a really, really good upgrade card to have if you're flying resistance here. I've actually had one other interaction is with Nabi, which we played a game for, I believe it was Kyber, where he had a similar list and it had a slight different mechanic for it. But the reason why I bring this up here is that locally I've had a lot of players talk about how right now the Republic is strong with the ARC 170s list, specifically, you know, the combo with Jag or other lists that can spread locks around with like Sing Console, for instance. And I think Ferris Paint is definitely an upgrade to really keep in mind if you're a resistance player, where you can potentially face off against lists that really depend on locks. Besides the Resistance, you could take a look at the Empire. Right there, you got Vader, which is in the majority of all the lists, and Vader absolutely needs to take a lock in order for him to increase his attack dice. You look at Boy Vader or the Starter Pack Vader, any of the X1s, Marek Steel, Juno Eclipse. When you take a lock on that opponent or in that enemy ship that has Ferrosphere Pink, they are forced to either discard that lock or take a stress, and that really locks up their dial for the next turn. And when you take a look at the dial specifically for the TIE X1, they don't have a one straight that's blue. They only have a white one straight, so that makes their ship particularly easy to read what they're going to do, because they have the 2 and 3 straights or the 1 and 2 banks that are blue. So if they're coming in for a joust and you need to block them to make sure that they don't take a target lock the next turn if they spend it, that makes it easy for you to put your ships in the way of Vader to prevent them from getting that target lock on the follow-up turn, and that really reduces their offensive output. So that's definitely a nice bit of tech to help control your opponent and what they're doing.
So, question is, does anybody fly Resistance at all outside of I know Alex does, but I've never seen Alex ever run Ferrosphere Paint that often.
No, I choose better upgrades for 3 points.
Very smart.
Hey, listen, you got 10 points basically out of X-Wing, right, on the D70. Yeah. Do I want like an HLC and something good, or do I want like Ferrosphere Paint and something else marginal? I mean, it's okay, but like, I don't know, you go against like Starter Pack Vader, he can just focus and then target lock. Sure, it limits his dial, but also he can just bullseye you too. Like, it's not 100% of the time. And most of the time, if I'm taking locks, I generally don't care about stress. But also, my lists aren't designed to take locks, so maybe I'm the wrong person for this.
Fair enough. So when you didn't actually get to have to play Stan or Stanny, did you?
Yeah. Me and Stanny intentionally drew in the last undefeated match of the day. I was thinking about his list a lot because it comes up, and it doesn't really matter against top lists in the game right now, which is the Han. No one's taking locks in that list, so, and he suffered from it. If you watch the second to last game of the tournament, the Han not needing to take locks really played a factor in the game that he lost.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like that really it's good tech, I think, against Republic shenanigans, but yeah, you're right. I mean, like in CIS, we don't take locks very often. Yeah. It's just not really a thing. But not that anybody ran CIS.
There were some out there. There was some CS out there. I was afraid
more
of.
So than Scum.
Yeah, more so than Scum.
Yeah, I think that's a whole nother conversation about why we don't have. Where's the CIS players here? I mean, I don't know. Like, anyway, it doesn't matter. We don't. That's a side tangent that I could spend 20 hours on. But so I don't know. I still think it's a really good card, no matter what Alex says. And I think that it is one of those things. I don't even know where the origins of this comes from. How about that? Personally. So is this something that was like part of the Resistance show, or is this like a card that was kind of named after the movies?
Not sure, actually. I don't know where it came from. Honestly, I don't recall it coming from the Resistance show, but it might be just something that they caught from like the Big Book of Star Wars that kind of goes through like all the details for the movies. Might have been something that they put on there. So the one thing I do wanted to add on, because I did mention that there was a match that I had once with Nabi for for a Kyber Cup, and it was a list that he had that included a raid that had Amlin Holdo. And if you're not familiar with that crew, Holdo's ability is before you engage, you may choose another friendly ship at range 1 or 2. You may transfer that to that ship 1 token of a type that that ship does not have. That ship may transfer 1 token to you of a type that you do not have. So essentially, you can, if your opponent decides to target lock a ship, you can have them transfer that target lock, assuming you don't have one on Ray, or your crew carrier that has a Holdo. And then, since you're most likely that ship does not have you in Bullseye, you could then force them to take a stress or break the lock once you transfer it over, because first your page happens again at that point. You can trigger that again. So that is a nice little bit of tech there that that can really mess up your opponent if they're not ready for it or don't see it coming. You do have to invest quite a bit of points in order for it to happen, but it is it was the first time it happens and you're not ready for it, it can really screw you up.
I don't want to say like Ferrosphere is bad because it's like a pretty nifty upgrade. But if I had like 13 points on a D70, I'd bring Ferrosphere. If I have like 9, I'm not wasting 3 points on that on Ferrosphere. I think it's only marginal. Just kind of like whatever, the bombers are just gonna one straight after you, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of lists are, well, we're gonna joust anyway, so we might as well just not bother 4K'ing behind you.
All right. Well, that is our roll call segment for the day. Let's move on to, so we have 2 of them. We have 2 communications in 1 week, right, from AMG, which is crazy to me. Like that is definitely, I will say, like a first for AMG, for at least for X-Wing, right? Like 2 X-Wing communications. I don't know if anybody else felt that way. I felt a little privileged, but then when you read them, you're like, man, no, I don't feel as privileged. But I do feel a little privileged that they acknowledged us. And I think so. So the first one is a letter, and we're not going to display it, and it's just going to be a quick chat. But the first is like their letter about essentially don't be a bad guy and like don't come shit talk on their streams and in their comment sections, which I get. It just kind of feels like, hey, here we go. AMG, I understand what you're trying to accomplish. They did it a lot better than when they basically told people that who didn't want to play 2.5 to go find another game. Like it was definitely better than that communication. But I don't know. Like to me, it felt a little awkward, and it is kind of like, is this really necessary? Could you just not go in and ban things, right? Could you just not go in and delete comments and be done with it? Like, do you really need a whole letter to the community explaining it? I don't know. What why and what did you think about this?
So I have a lot of sympathy for AMG. They kind of were a victim of a lot of bigger business moves that were out of there. They did well, and then they suffered for it. So they made this game, Marvel Crisis Protocol, and they did a really good job. Like, no one can fault them on that. And then Asmodee made them suffer for doing a good job by taking all of the Star Wars properties, which are, by coincidence, Disney Marvel properties, and shuffling them onto their plate. And they've been doing their best. And so I give them a lot of spare room, because no one could have anticipated this kind of plate that would have been placed upon them. They are not doing a good job, but they are doing a better job than Fantasy Flight Games. If anyone can remember the updates we got from Fantasy Flight Games riddled with errors, pictures didn't make any sense, communications that were not just like, they were writing sentences that made nothing. It was like they were talking to us. If you don't remember the Fantasy Flight days, I mean, I don't know what to say at this point. AMG is doing a better job than Fantasy Flight Game was doing, and they didn't want it. They didn't want us as a community. They were doing a very good insular job, and a big corporation told them they have to have these Star Wars games, and I think that they're taking the job on, from that perspective, very admirably.
Fair enough. And I do agree with you. I do think that in the long run, they're the strong suits that they have for the improvements in the game. Like, I will be honest to say, I genuinely like the scenario plays. I feel that we are catering to a better skill set than we had before, and I don't feel the game has suffered that much from it. Um, I do not care for their PR ever. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't understand it. I feel like I could hire absolutely anybody. I don't know what you do for a living, but you could probably do a better job at their PR without even having to be in that department. um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Is anybody else have any other thoughts? Like I said,
Yeah.
I go ahead, JJ.
So, I mean, first context for this one, right? They're talking about the upcoming transmissions that they're going to have for their mini extravaganza, which is historically for AMG has been mainly a lot of painting streams that they have on there, and they do a couple of releases for some of the games that they worked on there. And they had previously communicated to the community that X-Wing will not have any announcements going on over there, and that they'll be mainly focusing on their other stuff like for Legion and Shatterpoint on there, which they did. I mean, to be honest, while it's disappointing as an avid fan of X-Wing not to hear like more news for things that are going on. We already know that the Battle Vendor pack is coming. We do know that the Star Vipers, or sorry, the Star Wing is coming up.
Wait. Star Vipers are coming?
No, Star Wing,
Oh.
not Star Viper. And this was communicated to us at the end of Worlds when they had their own announcement during Adepticon, which is effectively substituted what their announcements would have been for Mini Extravaganza for X-Wing specifically. So it's disappointing to know that we're not going to get any like new updates on those particular packs. But hey, I understand at least they communicated that to us in advance and stuff. And there's still quite a lot of people that don't know that or don't recall that happening with everything that was going on at Worlds at the time. And I do appreciate that they at least let us know ahead of time that's going on. Now, to go with what Will Schick had posted on that announcement about, basically, if you're not offering constructive criticisms, please don't post like any negative comments on there. Otherwise, they will have to go and delete there. And they're basically kind of justified a little bit based on how the community has reacted in the past to their streams. There was the famous first stream that they had where they were trying to introduce 2.5 and they got a couple of rules wrong and they placed the wrong obstacles on the board, and they were basically like trying to introduce the concept of the game, and the community just kind of lost their minds over a lot of the changes, and there was a lot of negative feedback that went into those chats, and some people went personal, some people took it a bit too far, and AMG does not want a repeat of that to happen. That being said, if you do have any negative or any constructive criticisms, please direct them to AMG. You can reach out to them, offer them solutions for what could be changed and stuff, and try to keep it factual, right? Don't go for personal attacks. Don't go for like name calling and stuff like that. That doesn't help us as a community, right? That offers no solutions to anybody, and all it does is just antagonize them for that, right? Ultimately, a lot of these developers and stuff don't have a lot of control what they can do. They do have to get a lot of permissions and stuff for certain pilots to be done, for changes to be done. A lot of things has to go through a process for them. Doesn't come as quick as we would like for it to do, but it happens, right? Now, the other communication that we got was the communications in regards to the store champs invites going forward. And Chris, go ahead.
So we got a store champ kit confusion letter. So the first thing I want to point out is officially AMG is their new website's live. I'll be honest with you and have not gone through it. I had that on the agenda tonight, and then I decided that it probably is probably boring to watch you guys watch me click through the website and go ooh like so. We'll have the link in the description of the show. You're welcome to go view it yourself. I will say that it is so far what I've used it is a million times faster, like, and it is a lot more clean looking, like in terms of what I can find for the Star Wars page. So like I can actually find what I need on the page. They have stuff for new players, which like that's to me that's the most amazing thing ever. Like that is here's my most recent releases and here's what's coming. So whatever took them so long to get it up and running, I think now it feels a lot better. So but we're not going to go through all of the different things. What we're going to go through is the Store Champ kit letter. So here's the first thing. They posted this on the 4th. And then they edited it and added to it on what day was it? Was it the 6th or 7th? Something like that. I don't remember what day it was, but they added to it to get further clarification. So to sum it up in a shell, essentially what they are saying is your Store Champ must have 15 other people plus yourself to get a world's invite. They are essentially telling us at this current time, anybody who has gotten one from less than 16 is not going to be valid. That's what they're saying right now. We'll get to some of the TL communities that I'm involved in, or not. Maybe I'm not involved in, but like I'm in their threads. But we could talk a little bit about how this feels in a few seconds. But the other piece that they're saying is they feel that the importance of the 16 person will force a higher level of competition, which is what they want for a Worlds. Now, I will tell you, if you could go through the last 3 months of shows and you can see who's winning, let's just say 80% of these is people that I played when I went to Worlds. So I played against some of these people when I went to Worlds. I saw them there. They were in the world. So those people are going to win, whether it's 16 or 12. I will say I agree with them. Like some of these 4 to 6, even maybe 8 people feels a little bad, but they're further clarifying that's what they want. They essentially said there is a form that they have sent out to stores, and the form needs to be completed by the 15th. If your store championship is after that, it must be completed by the 31st. And essentially what they're saying is the January 31st of 24 is the official cutoff date. There will be no more store champ invites handed out, nothing after that date. So if you were planning on running something in February, don't do it. You won't give out the invite, or you won't be able to have an invite given out. They then clarified what their competitive season is, right? Essentially, they believe it's May 4th to January 31st. Even though they didn't give us new points or store kits till the end of the month, they did officially commit to May 4th through the 31st. They acknowledged the delay in the Armada kit, which I didn't know it was because Armada doesn't have a following in my area, unfortunately. And I'll be honest, I don't know how you're gonna get Armada tournaments unless your whole state comes together. I don't know.
Yeah,
I would play an Armada store kit just because it's fun, but I would lose. They also are telling us that there is no such thing as any more legacy invites, that they have officially fulfilled their commitment from 19. They did talk about passing down. Essentially, you could pass your invite down. I don't think that's anything new. Here's the difference, though, and this is kind of where it gets a little dicey, is if there is not a top cut, right? And this is Alex and I have a great example of this. We were at a store where I was 3-0. There was another person 3-0. I lost. Alex skipped ahead of me because he had more SOS than I did. And he would have ended up, if that person had already had the store invite, he would have ended up with the store invite versus me. So they essentially clarified how they want them passed down, basically to the next player. You cannot just skip a person and say it goes to the other 3-0 player. It doesn't work like that, or they don't want it to work like that. Here's the piece. And so when we talk about a shit sandwich, there's always got to be a good part. Here is a great part. They gave us actual email addresses to email them for questions. And I will tell you right now, the OP at Atomic Mass Games 100% is answering email. Just so you know, it is not we've usually had a month-long turnaround time. We are not getting that right now. They are emailing TOs back very quickly. Not on the weekend, of course, but they're emailing. So like, this is great. To me, this is great news. Like, to me, this is them finally saying, here, this is how you get a hold of us. And it's not just the general inbox BS. And I'm guessing this kind of comes along because of the new website. Logically, that's probably how it comes. They talk about how long it'll take an answer, which essentially is 3 business days. That's another positive thing, in my opinion, is they're giving us a time frame when we should see it. Business days. So I have to clarify that 3 business days. So don't email them on Friday and expect an answer Monday. You don't have to get it. You ain't getting it then. So, they did also confirm there will be a last chance qualifier. I'm still a little suspect about that, but they're based on how they're running these store kits now with 16 player minimums. I'm guessing that there will probably have to be a last chance qualifier no matter what now. Like, there's so many people that have given kits away that it essentially is, that's bad. They then talked about, what if my store cannot fit 16 people? And they essentially said, the kit is meant to be ran like this. Please do not run it any other way. You must meet the minimum requirements. We'll come back to that in a second, because that's kind of that's a feels bad in my opinion. They talk about how you can confirm your invite. Again, the invite piece of that is going to be, through the forum. You can also email OP and talk to them about it. And again, like I said, they have been very responsive right now. They also then felt the need to tell us that they told us about this 16-person requirement. I will say that it was in the kit. It was not something they publicly talked about at all. And they did not answer questions in the aspect of how I would have thought that they would have answered questions. This, like, to me, this could have been something they could have addressed back in June, before everybody got going. But it was in the kit, and I won't lie and say I found it when I went through my store kit. I found that, and that was an immediate question that people brought up. That will probably be the largest discussion point for us is all. They do say that you could talk to them about exceptions. I have not heard of any exceptions as of this current time, but you are welcome to talk to them about it. They then further clarified that if you have 1 kit, you must have 16 or more people. If you want to give out 2 store invites, you must have 32, which will affect Michigan GT officially. And then 3 kits is 48 or more. So there. That is the official letter that we got. So now we can open it up and say, okay, what is everybody's thoughts? And we'll let the guests go first before anybody else jumps in.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, especially in regards to what you have experienced, other people have experienced. I'm of the personal opinion that the game should be as wide and as big as possible. So anyone who won a store championship with 8 people, that number of people, should be welcome into Worlds with open arms. That's my opinion. It's hard to beat even one person in X-Wing. I think people forget that. Like, one-on-one, nothing on the line, that's a hard game. And if someone wins 4 of those in a row, I think they deserve a seat. That's my opinion. And I think AMG should chill out and let these people play in Worlds. That's my thoughts.
All right. And I don't think you're wrong, right? Like, I don't personally think your opinion is even that far off from, I would say, what the general consensus of the public is, right? I mean, because to me, how do you, like, there are some areas where it's hard. I mean, how about this? And this is where this is where the disappointment came, is they opened up and allowed for all these store kits to be gone, right? Michigan has had probably, by the end of the season, we have at least 20 kits floating around Michigan.
So 20 winners, right?
There should be. Right now, I think Michigan has 3.
Oh, jeez, that's not right.
Because we haven't hit
like
the 16-player
minimum.
What's that? Yeah, well, 2 of them.
Like 2 of them are actually from Michigan.
But so the problem has been because we haven't enforced that 16-player rule in Michigan. We've only had 2 tournaments, I think, that have hit that 16-player cap. Has it been 2? I think it's officially 2. And one of them, because the players already had they already had their invites, they passed them down. So there's now people are having to go back and actually pull invites from people. And I don't know what Stanley decided to do, but I know that like the 2 people that were at that one, Sam and Nate, both of them had invites from other tournaments, and now there's a discussion going around on whether they should pull them and give it back to them, or how they're going to handle that. And that's
it's unfortunate. I think the correct policy is to be as liberal as possible, so that the most people show up to Worlds. That's my thoughts on it. If you maybe even thought that you were getting an invite, I think you should get one and show up.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with respect to like the minimum numbers and stuff, like I understand from their point of view, they printed out the requirements for having 16 players minimum for these events. That's what they want to do, but when it comes to a lot of the smaller communities, especially ones that are recovering from COVID and are trying to get their local stores back up, a lot of times they're smaller communities that have, 6 or maybe 8 regular players, and then people that come in and out. And then, these are the same, small communities that want to put on a store champ event, so that way they can, try to bring in more players to come in and try to participate. And they're struggling, to try to fill that requirement. For example, yesterday I went out to South Carolina. There was a store championship that was being held over at Firefly Games over in Columbia, South Carolina, and they were struggling to reach that requirement. Thankfully, a lot of my locals were able to drive down there. The majority of us drove over 3 hours to go down to that store champ event to go help support them, and we were just able to reach that 16 players for that event, which made it eligible for that invite to get passed down. But not every store is going to have that luxury. There's so many people that are actively advertising for people to come and show up for those events, and if it doesn't happen the first time, it's going to be much more difficult the second time to get more players to come in and join those events. So I think it kind of acts like as a deterrent at that point. And in the end game, when you look at it, it's not going to take away from Adepticon when it comes to the amount of players that go and participate in the event, right? Because at Adepticon they have space for well over 100 players for each day to come and participate for that, and then they still have a hard cut of the record of X and 1 that can make it on to the next day. So even if you're getting more people to go out to Adepticon based on the amount of invites that are getting sent out, it's not really going to affect the end game for Worlds if you still have that requirement for who goes on to day number 2 for the top cut. So why not have people get that Worlds invite? I mean, it's not like you're paying for the hotels or anything like that. That can only be done through the big events, those regional events. A store invite is just basically letting somebody into the door to say, hey, you've earned this right to go and play at Worlds at Adepticon, and they still have to pay their way. They still have to go over there. It literally does not cost AMG anything to allow these people to go in and play at Worlds.
Well, and my biggest complaint about it, all right, my biggest, and I want to try and be nice here, as nice as I can be, because I'm having a hard time with their OP department. I feel like their OP department doesn't understand or hasn't taken the time to work towards understanding the community. And I feel that, like, to some extent, like, do they not like money? Right? Like, they aren't releasing new ships. This is a revenue source to some extent. Like,
yeah.
I'm a little confused, like, why they don't want money. I agree. I agree that, like, this 4 to 6 people that are trying to get a store invite out of that, like, that's a feels bad. But how often does that happen? Let's look at the actual probability of how often that's going to happen. Like, do you honestly, like, how about this? My store did not go, hey, Tanner, if you give me $50 or $100, you can have the store kit and run a fake tournament and win it and have an invite. My store literally said they want people to walk in and be there. We just lowered our cost for we moved our date and we lowered our cost to $10. And the store is like, well, we don't know how else to help you, so there you go. We're gonna lower it to $10.
I think you're absolutely right about the point about them. Do they want to make money? I think they're misunderstanding who plays these games. Like we're all dedicated diehards. There's very few people in this game that are in it for a scam or some sort of extra effort that they didn't earn. And they should be super excited that there are people that are super excited to play. And cutting people out of a tournament because they only had 15, 14, 13 people, I think is the wrong message to send. These are the people that love this game. That person that won that 1 out of 13 tournament, this is the kind of people that are very excited for the World's Finals, and they're ambassadors for the game. Telling them they can't come is a wrong move, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, and think about it this way too, right? Like we have 4 new locals that are playing now. They have played in 3-star champ kits, even though they have not won them because they're that new of a player. But they've come and they played.
Yeah.
This is we now are trying to find creative ways to encourage them to come play in every one of them because none of these are going to be official without them. And
Jeez.
the one we're determining one of them where we might just everybody pays an extra $5 and we take that pool and we essentially cover the cost of the lower end tier. So when I lose really bad, I get my money back basically. So I'm excited. You know, it's exciting to me. I can go play X-Wing and somebody pays for it for me for the whole day. Just kidding. Excuse me. But Alex, you've been very quiet. You won a store champ where you no longer have an invite unless they're gonna lie about it. That's the piece. I apologize. Let me back up. They have threatened essentially to cut OP out of stores if they're caught lying. How they're going to determine that is beyond me. But that has been a threat that has kind of come down. And I feel like the unfortunate side effect is we really don't want to screw stores over unless that store doesn't care and that's their opinion. Other than that, I don't feel that that's an ethical piece of a maneuver for me, just personally.
And Alex, I'll be back in 1 minute. My girlfriend is calling me, so I'm gonna come right
All
back.
right, yeah, no problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good luck.
All right, Alex, what is your thoughts?
So, as someone who is both a big ambassador for this game, trying to get as much store champs packed as I can, creating the entire Michigan X-Wing Discord, reaching out to multiple other states to get people in for these games, and being screwed out of 2 championships, potential world invites that I don't get. I have absolutely no problem with what they're doing in any way, shape, or form. I think it's totally reasonable. They mentioned that it's at least 16 players. It was in the rules. If it's not 16 players, you don't get the bonus world invite. They still provided you with a bunch of other prizes and stuff to give out to people. So what if you don't get the world invite? If the 16 is too high for people, then they'll see it when they don't have a lot of people at Worlds and have a giant ass LCQ. Hopefully they lower it next year.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't agree. How about this? Whether I agree or not with them, I don't feel that 16 is the right number. So I definitely think that is. I felt that they probably should have reached out to community leaders and had a conversation about it beforehand.
Yeah. I
To
think
me,
that
would have been smarter.
I think honestly, like if they would have done that, right? Like I think that having a range of like having a minimum of 10 players to 16 players, I think that feels more representative of a lot of communities, that are trying to run these events, and that would have appeased a lot of people, right? Because I feel like that's a more attainable number to have to allow people to come in and participate and just let the community grow, right? Because you have that you're giving that opportunity for those smaller communities to entice people to come out and play and participate in these events. without that, these smaller communities die. And honestly, that's where the game lives and breathes, is for those communities to come in to expand on their local player base, to come in and try out the game.
I mean, if you go by like pre-COVID numbers, right? Like you could have easily have gotten 16 people at a store champ. Like every store champ that I did in Michigan was like at least 20 plus people. So I mean, where else are they going to get their numbers from if there hasn't been store champ since, right? This one got the right number. Clearly, there's not the player base for that yet, and I'm sure they've gotten a lot of feedback about the numbers, and that's too high, and I can't have store champs that reach 16 people. I'm sure they can switch it back next season. Is what it is.
So sure, but so I agree with you on that aspect, Alex, except for they waited 3 months to have this conversation, which they feel they probably shouldn't have had.
It's in the rules, like for the setup of the tournament.
So, hold on. Sure. Got it. Great. But people weren't following it, and they felt the need to follow up, right? They did. So they could look at numbers right now. We have a site that somebody built that we could pull numbers for that. And they could have reached out to almost anybody in the community, and they could have probably gotten an average of what that number is, and they could have made an exception if they wanted. They're choosing not to do that. That is their choice. And while I'm not going to tell them they must do this or I quit the game, I will say that they could be a little bit more sensitive to the community based on the fact that they're waited 3 months to do this, right?
I mean, I don't see how it's AMG's fault that people just chose to ignore the things that they gave them.
It's a sensitive topic. It's not exactly black and white, because AMG laid out all these requirements, and we weren't sure how serious they were about them, because Fantasy Flight Games, by the way, wasn't very serious about their requirements either. As someone who's been playing the game for 10 years plus. And then how exacting is AMG going to be about this requirement? I, for one, think that they are setting a good precedent for respecting the numbers that they've laid down. But on the other side, they should have been doing that from the very beginning, instead of Johnny come lately saying, hey, you didn't have 16. Yeah, we're halfway through the season. You should have been holding that line from the very beginning, because people are getting surprised now. Good players are like, I thought I had a ticket, and the local maybe 3 top 64s, and they still have to crack that to get to Worlds.
Yeah, and I think the point being made is that when you say FFG never held to any of that stuff, they were very lenient in that, and FFG has been lenient on that, like across games. That is not the only game.
It's not just this one game.
Yes, we had that, and I played Destiny for 2 years before it died, and they did not hold specific numbers. Now, I won't lie and say I went to tournaments where there was probably 40, 50 people, but still, they did not. It was not held to that number. Like, we went to one that had 13 people, and they were like, "Yeah, usually we were told we're supposed to have like 20 or so for this," and they didn't have it, and they still handed it out, and they still awarded it. Not that they had Worlds in 2020, but I mean.
It's a system of conduct that I think individuals are being unfairly punished for. It's like AMG wants to set a new standard, but that standard has never been set before for this game.
And
they set the standard by putting it in the rules, and this isn't FMG. That is not FFG. Like, you can't just assume because FFG was lenient that AMG would be.
There's the difference between setting a standard and like enforcing them. I feel a little bad for people who thought they were in 2 Worlds and are now finding they are not.
How about this, Alec? If it was something that they felt this passionate about, don't you think a good company, like a company that has good PR, would actually have taken care of that situation and had the conversation well before? I mean, how about this? They knew this was going on. It didn't take 3 months for them to discover this. They were specifically asked about this back in May and in June. People asked them, and they refused to answer. So I don't disagree with you in the fact that, sure, maybe AMG has done nothing wrong, right? Maybe in the effort of they've held the line, blah, blah, blah. Sure, great. The problem is, like, to me, the problem becomes is when you hold a line as a company and an organization that wants to support, like, they are a customer service piece that is failing, in my opinion, at customer service. They like us complaining that we don't get new ships is on us, right? They're giving us new content for the game. We can either take it or leave it. That's us. That's us. And we complain about that. To me, that's kind of like, hey, we want them to grow it differently. They're not willing to do that right now. They're willing to do these things, and we have to either, accept it or not. In this case, you're right. We could just take the thing at face value, but they could have easily made a post. They could have easily talked about it on a damn paint stream, for Christ's sake, that they've had like 50 of them since then, and just said, hey guys, we're not going to answer any more damn questions about this. It is a 16 player minimum. You have 16 people there, or you don't get the invite. You run the kit, throw the invite in the trash, call it a day. And they could have also said, hey, we're getting a Google form coming out. This is how it's going to be. All of that stuff has been fed through the community, through TOs that have contacted them, not from them just going, let's have an honest conversation. Like, to me, if you're going to shit my cereal, at least tell me you're going to do it and be honest about it. That's the way I say. That's the new name of the episode, shitting in my cereal, for Christ's sake.
I like how aggressive you are about the whole situation. I think you're the kind of voice that Angie needs to keep them accountable. So all of us are too nice, honestly.
Yeah. And how about this? I will not quit running events, or I will not quit supporting the game or the people in this community because of this. But I'm not going to, I don't feel the need to not give my opinion, I guess. And Alex and I, like, we don't agree all the time, and that's okay. That's part of the reason Alex is part of the podcast now, is because sometimes JJ just nods his head and goes, yeah, Tanner's always right, So
Andy's so handsome. You're forgetting about how handsome JJ is.
Exactly, yes. Especially with that Lions hat.
Hey, that's a winner's cap. That's a winner's cap.
It is. I know. Hey, JJ, did you wear that to the store champ this week?
No, I did not.
Oh my god.
That's why you lost.
That's why you lost.
That's why I lost. I know. Damn it. I just got a haircut. I had spiked up my hair, and I'm like, you know what? I'm looking nice. I didn't want to like mess up, but I should have worn it, man. My goodness.
All right. Well, does anybody have anything else? If not, I think we should get into let's transition into a happier topic about somebody who has won Nova. So why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us how long you've been playing X-Wing and why you're going to only fly Scum for the rest of the year.
So these are excellent questions. I've been playing X-Wing since it came out. So 2011, 2012, sometime around then. I can't remember exactly. And I play X-Wing because I love Star Wars and I love spaceships. And I think it's the best exploration of the topic. I mean, this game, this Wings of War system that has been licensed for X-Wing, is a truly excellent game. So all the rule changes, all the sadness that comes along with X-Wing changing or switching forms, it's one of the best war games ever designed. So I just kind of want to remind people the legacy that they're playing in. What were the other questions? Sorry.
Introduce yourself. Why you play X-Wing? What's your favorite faction? I think I said, what was your favorite faction, and why are you going to play Scum for the rest of the store championship?
My name is Wynand Coert, and I won Nova. And my favorite faction is Rebel because it shows that even though you may one day be born into a fascist government, you can always rebel against it.
Fair enough.
The people get really sour, like, oh man, that Imperial changed sides. I think that happened with the Starfighter game. He is another Imperial defector. It's like, you want the fascists to defect, everyone. That's what you want. Like, you want them to give up on being fascists and be rebels. Don't feel bad about it. Feel good about it.
So congratulations. So was this your first win of the season for a Worlds invite?
Yes, this was my first Worlds invite win. I was playing a lot of Grand Army of the Republic with Anakin, Delta 7B before this game, and semi X-Wing famous friends of mine were like, just play Han, you'll win an invite. And they were right. And I played with Han and I got my invite. So not lots to complain about.
Alex is going to ask you, you're running Republic, how many dedicated is in the list? Because he has a requirement. to make it a good list.
Is dedicated and Caesar Coruscant the same thing?
No.
Okay. None dedicated.
Tragic. Your dice must be good.
Alex, tell the audience what is the correct number of dedicated upgrades that you need in a Republic list.
Bare minimum of 3.
3 dedicated.
So when you blank out with Obi-Wan, you can re-roll them all into blanks again.
I'm assuming that happened to you
all the time.
Yep. Ask him how many times it happens when him and I play each other.
100%.
Literally every time.
Every time. We don't get to play each other very often, but it does. Every time his fucking Obi-Wan just dies. It's just
my
gone,
dice have a flair for the dramatic.
I think the Grand Army of the Republic and First Order are kind of sitting there waiting for someone to really explode and beat everybody with it. Republic's strong.
I mean, they had that very popular Padme list. That's running around.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion.
Oh, there's a bunch of cool stuff. I love the Republic. It's like my second favorite faction. I just, I'm not terribly interested in them right now. I don't know. Arcs are not terribly interesting to me to fly. Unless they're worth a lot more points than they are.
In fairness, Alex, you ran Republic for like almost a whole year straight, didn't you?
He kind of burned himself. He burned himself out on it.
It's fine. I just there's a bunch of cool things that you can't really do in Republic right now, or you can. It's just not as good as flying like 3 arcs, and that just gets boring to me. That's all.
It is boring.
All right, so I'll tell you what. Let's go through your list. We'll let you tell us what your list is, Wyatt, and then we can kind of get into. So JJ really wanted to kind of go through your run. So what I'll say is, we don't want to spend an hour going through your run because it looks like you played a lot of similar lists. Unfortunately,
yeah, I'll keep it quick. There were a lot of mirrors. Like I played the same list at least 3 times, and you can talk about that one a little bit. But JJ was on GSP casting, so I'd really like to hear his point of view on it.
Okay, all right, JJ, what is his list? Go ahead.
All right, so we got a Rebel list here. We got Han Solo with Trick Shot, Perceptive Co-Pilot, Bestand, and the Millennium Falcon title. Battle Yavin Luke, which comes with Instinctive Aim, Proton Torpedoes, Attack Speed, and R2-D2. Wedge Antilles with Predator and Marksmanship. Keo Venzi with Juke, and then Sabine Wren with Beskar Reinforced Plating. Now, I believe we had you on stream just for that final, if I remember correctly, for that day.
Yeah, my list was too boring to play in any other match.
I mean, there were a lot of Hans in the top.
Yeah.
So I'll speak directly to the stream that you that I commented it on there for you. So I think that this version of the list is probably the most flexible one. Having the I know the flip side of this is substituting Sabine and Keo in order for you to bring in Fen Rao at I6, which he is a solid option for just having that I6 attacker that can go in and punish. But having those added ships on there gives you a little more flexibility in terms of having additional shots against opponents, having additional ships to go claim objectives or contest objectives, and it allows you to really spread out around the board and create a bigger kill box for your intended targets in order for you to go in there for you. I know we were having a little bit of a talk during the pre-show when we were setting up about the difference between your Han and Josh Benjamin's Han, who you faced off with on the other side. He ended up having chopper crew for his engine upgrade in exchange for the 4 points which you have on your Han, which is Trick Shot there. And it's really interesting, right? Because they're 2 very different mindsets for Han, right? Your version is obviously a lot more offensive minded. If you're able to get that Trick Shot off, you're able to punch out 4 die, and typically Han usually is able to do that with his ability to have those rerolls for that, and it has a bigger it has a bigger ceiling or higher ceiling for spike damage, right? If you're able to get all 4 of those results in to do damage against your opponent, because typically, on average, red dice tend to roll more results than green dice, right? You have a 50% chance on reds, whereas it's 33% on greens. So statistically, the more red dice you throw out, you have a higher chance for you to just push out damage, and Han being able to mitigate bad rolls with his ability helps increase that chance as well. So I get that perspective there. The other version of Han is a little more evadey,
Mobile.
a little more mobile, being able to have that white boost or have the chopper where he can take that action even if he's stressed. It just offers a little more flexibility there. But I really wanted to pick your brain on like your decision making in terms of the upgrades on Han, like what you thought would be a better version of it, or if it's something that you chose for your particular playstyle.
That's a good question. With this version of 2.5 edition, I've been feeling very limited. I really like being able to pick whatever upgrade I want on all my ships, and it makes me kind of frustrated that I can't. Like if you take Han, you must take X. If you take Luke, you must take Y. Like it's there are no options, and that's where I used to make my money. Is I'd make unique lists, but with this kind of list building, there are situations in which certain ships are a must take. Boy, Luke is so efficient; it's absolutely out of control. So if you're playing Rebels and you're not playing Boy Luke, you've just already handed your opponent the game. Essentially, like you have to have it.
What if you're playing Boy Luke and Leebo? Have you handed your opponent the game yet? That's the question.
That's the 6-point YT 2400, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, you have not handed your opponent the game yet. 5-point proton torpedo force carrying machine is just too good. I will say on the other side of what you're kind of talking about, the trick shot versus the
Chopper
engine upgrade. People do not spend enough time on their turn 0. I'm gonna just lay that out. I listened to you guys' last podcast in which I think your very wise co-caster called that trick shot was not as good as chopper engine upgrade. Mm-hmm. He's right. For people that are skilled, that's true. But you have to remember, 80% of the people that you play against are not as good as you, I guess, or are not taking into account range 0 or turn 0 or the rocks or the objective. And I won 80%. I'm gonna say 80% of my games on turn 0. It's really the people that really thought about it that were better than me, and I had to actually change my strategy. Is there were people that were better than me in this tournament? Easy, like easy call. They're smarter. Gonna fill this out, but your turn 0 is really big, and your buddy's right. Without turn 0, that is a better list. Chopper engine upgrade is a better list. But when you can set up a lane that you know you're going to get at least 2 trick shots, all you really need it's a 4-point upgrade. If you get 2 red dice out of it, it's worth it. You just have to think about things like crack shot. What does crack shot really get you? 2 green dice, 1 green dice. A threat of one or the other. Trick shot's 4 points, and it's 2 dice if you know how to fly, and it's a big deal. I forgot what the question was at this point. Sorry.
No, it's just your thoughts on that build. Now, the other part I wanted to pick your brain on is the decision to go with A-wing wedge for your list as your 3-pointer for here. What was your, like, when you're making selection for this, because Rebels does have actually quite a lot of decent options at 3 points. What was your thoughts on selecting A-wing wedge?
I4 tech against Arcs and Han. 5 ship is my minimum for building competitive objective play lists. So yeah, you have to have 5, or all your other ships have to be I5 or better. So
Well, You know
But
what's funny too? When so I was watching the final at home while I was prepping the show for the day, right? And like I can't listen to audio. Some of it's because I can't listen to JJ all the time. So I have to hear. I knew I was going to hear him that night. Just kidding. But no,
he's
like
a smart man.
the some of the issue is just like with all the kids and stuff like that. Sometimes the kids want to watch something, so like I just throw it up on the laptop while I'm prepping the show and watch it. But I made the bet on you, and I was like, you can ask JJ, but I was like 5 ship beats 4 ship list almost every time. I think like there might be a scenario where it doesn't, but like when we have essentially these two comparing like similar lists, and I won't say your opponent didn't do a good job, but there was a couple of mistakes that they
Oh,
definitely
the
made.
last round was ugly. I played
Yeah.
poorly. He played poorly. I mean, Dion's right. The last round of the day is the ugliest round.
Yeah.
We're not
Yeah,
sharp.
you've been playing. That's probably what your 8th game of X-Wing within 2 days, and you've been on your feet for all day and
no
making
mistake.
decisions.
I've watched that game 4 times, and I was like, I could have not run into myself twice.
Yeah, so I do that as well. Like whenever I'm on stream, like I go back and review my matches just to be like, what a bonehead that was of me not thinking that this was going to happen. I do that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it hurts.
All right. So let's kind of move on from that. Unless Alex, did you have anything that you wanted to mention about the list real quick?
No, he's just been saying stuff that we've been saying a lot, right? Luke is the most taken ship for a reason.
Yeah.
I can't do 4 ship lists. I'd rather do 5. That's about it.
Yeah.
Is your
Yes,
scum
yes,
list a
it's
5
smart.
ship list?
My scum list is a 5 list.
Yeah.
And
Look at that.
hilariously, it's 6, 5, 4, 3, and 2 points. And they scale on the size of the physical model. The bigger the ship, the more points it's worth. It's great.
Balance. Yes.
So what I did is I went ahead and I threw each of your rounds in. We don't have to go through the list like in detail, right? Like let's not spend the time in detail going, ooh, look at every one of these bloody ships. But I do think if you look at your trajectory, it is hilarious. I when we get to the 4th round, I actually have a question for you on that list. Because that actually has been a list I have been running minus thread tracers. I don't understand the thread tracer piece of that. If we're being
Yeah,
frank, I just
I know.
don't get
I
it.
know the list you're talking about.
Yes. So your first round was a mirror match, except for they had Chopper. And that's the Chopper that I like to run as well. Like that's actually the list I had been playing around with, moving away from CIS just to have some rebel fun. What was it like flying against an identical Han? Same thing.
He this is a mistake a lot of Hans are doing, and I add this as advice to him who's playing Han. He laid his Han out in front of my entire force, so almost every ship had a shot on Han on the 2nd round. And Han is not invincible, ladies and gentlemen. He will die, so he can't tank the way you think he's going to be able to tank with that 1 reroll on the green dice. So my mirror did not value. It's like playing chess with the queen. He overvalued the queen, and he just played it out there and thought it was going to be the end all be all piece, and it just ended up burning up.
Well, if you fly Han into a joust,
Yeah.
usually Han does not live if he can't get away. And
The
without
biggest-
engine upgrade, he ain't getting away.
He's getting away. My biggest moves were not setting Han up for a joust. The 2 games I was in doubt, I put him in corners, and I made arcs fly over rocks to get to Han.
Fair point. All right. Your second round was an Empire list without a Vader. Well, all right. That's a lie. It has a Vader.
It has a
But
Vader in the rack, yeah.
In the rack, but without the other Vader. So I don't have the scores from any of these, so I have no idea how close any of these were. So obviously, like that list, did you struggle against that type of an Empire list at all? I mean, that list has got to feel very similar-ish to your list, except for I don't feel Rack is as good as Han personally, at the point value. But
that's accurate.
that
That was
is
a
a
close
cool
game,
list.
but it wasn't like it was always 50-50. There was never a time where the other list was ahead. and Han always lays out this big point total that's always just kind of out of your reach. And if you chase him, you're just getting obliterated by the dice that he's throwing at you. And I will say, trick shot came up on this game 4 times with the rack. So what is that? 4 times 1? Yeah, 4 extra dice at least.
It's like a whole other shot.
Yeah, it's like a whole other list. It's like it's big.
Especially when they don't roll green dice, except
And
for, I guess
then,
they roll the 1 because it was.
The thing is, Rack has to roll back obstructed at you, so that's another green dice on Han that he can re-roll.
Yeah, you gotta love that. Did you ever get a range 1 obstructed trick shot on him?
Yeah, you know what? All tournament, I did not get one. I was looking for it so hard. That 5 dice big shot, or 3 + 1 + 1. Yeah, that would have been really fun. But people were smart. People are really good at this tournament. It's really smart players.
All right. The third list she played was another Bloody Rebel list. This one had AP5, JJ's favorite Rebel, ship until they nerfed him.
Yeah.
That was literally JJ only ran AP.
I love AP5.
This list had a Bodeka in it, right?
Yeah, Bodeka, yeah. Yeah.
The player of this list made a pretty grievous error and placed Bodeka ineffectively and flew her over a rock during the most important turn. So it was an on game, more or less. And if you add up the life that her list had total, it never could have sustained Han's fire.
Yeah, and I think that's like that when we talk about this, and that's actually going to be a future segment on the show, is we got to talk about, like when we talk about list building and these other things, like Han has the ability to output and outmaneuver people. And that's like when we talk about like costing and different things like that, like I know why they did it. Like I know why they gave we in fairness to AMG, we complained as a community about Rebels and they listened. They definitely listened this time compared to last time. Maybe listened a little bit too much because
the math is overwhelming. The Han math. I'm not going to claim to be like some sort of genius. Like this list is the best list. And I just happened to be flying it that day. It's like Han's crazy. It's like 6-2, 10 dice on one round. Pre-roll and mod. Pretty wild.
Yeah, it's like the only thing that he doesn't have is the dash effect where he can land on rocks and shoot you without being obstructed. And
I've been flying that dash as like for fun. It's not that good. Han's way better. I5 and I6 are a big selling point.
Is Han a bigger bad guy than Torkel Mux? There you go. That's the question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes because Torkel Mux is still 6 points, and Han gets to fire twice, whether at I6 or I1.
It's an inside joke. I hate Torkel Mux. That is like a joke of the show. I have hated Torkel Mux since day one. I started playing X-Wing.
Yeah, I don't think Han even cracks your top 10. Honestly, yeah.
Han is never. Like I don't like playing. I won't lie and say I don't like playing against Han, but it's kind of like Poe. You either ignore him the whole game or you have to burn him down. You only have two. There's only 2 options. Like you either ignore him or you go murder him. Unless it's chance engagement, then you can half him and that's okay.
So that second game I got a bit of a break by Bodeka being on the rock. I think it would have been a much better game. Hera was flown well. The Bodeka really put the game in my favor.
All right. The next one is this is the list that I wanted to know about. So your 4th round opponent, Bento Baka. I don't know who the hell that really is, but they ran an FO list. And again, I run a very similar FO list, except for I'm more of the crispy Kylo style. I prefer my Predator, and I prefer my pattern analyzer, but that's just me. That's just like, that's a personal preference on my Kylo. But I don't understand why Whirlwind has thread tracers, honestly. Like I get it. I don't disagree. I get it. Everybody gets a bloody lock and you can like bump him up to I6 and Whirlwind then gets focuses and then can shoot thread tracers and everybody gets a target lock. So then you're double modded. I get it. But I don't know. Like,
This is a
Anyway.
game that I probably should have lost. My opponent forgot to trigger Malorus at the appropriate time.
Oh,
Um, and
that's
that
rough.
was just a forgotten trigger. And he asked me, "Can I go back?" And I really hate that. I really hate being able to be the person that's like, "Sure, go back and beat me." Like, so we agreed that he had missed the trigger, and I think if he hadn't missed the trigger on it, he would have won. And that's really it. I think that was a 1-point game, if I'm remembering correctly.
Wow.
He probably should have beat me.
So do you feel the cluster missiles is worse than the thread tracers in that list, or maybe just against your list? I don't know. The thread tracers I have a harder time with because it feels like you have to confine your list into 1 or 2 targets. Unless they joust you, then whatever they joust you.
They're always looking for a joust, and they're good at it because they set up late, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Malorus is always going to be able to find that joust, no matter. You can set up in the center, and you can't get away from his joust.
No.
I would say that first order list has a big weakness against Empire, especially the Arc Padme list. So it's very good against Han, but it suffers against Han's counter. And if flown well, and this is my opinion, if flown well, I think first order is the best list on the table right now. Like at its peak, first order will win a tournament.
Yeah. And like for me, this list, like I feel this list is one of the funnest lists I've ever ran personally. Like in terms of play style, it is, you can't land on rocks like I can with CIS. So there's a negative there. I'm just gonna say that's a negative. I think I like, that's why I like flying CIS, because if you hit a rock, you're like, oh, just flip a chart, whatever, don't care. Anyway, but I have actually been flying a very similar version of this list, and I just find it fun, right? Like it either wins. I love the jamming. Like I just love going, you want to get jammed?
Whirlwind is amazing, I think,
because
a number that it counts as 0, so that's a focus token, you know.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the best part is like it's just like, yep. I mean, and with Whirlwind, you can literally just fly. Though I did learn you cannot point your arc backwards and then shoot your missiles and then get your focus tokens. I found that out the hard way. I quickly lost. I quickly lost that game because Whirlwind just became an ineffective thing, because by the time I turned around, it didn't matter. But anyway, I just think that, like, I don't know, the jamming piece of that list is fun, and it's fun to line up bullseyes. It's like having 2 dirges, and you get one at a lower initiative, and then you have the ability, you're there. You know, you're just there, and you're not coordinating until, you know, the end if you don't want to. And if you want to coordinate, you can. If you don't want to coordinate anything, you don't have to.
It's true.
All right. So your round 5 was the Padme list. The counter list was your round 5. Excuse me, your round 5 on the end of the first day. How did you deal with that?
Yeah, this is the game that I'm gonna shout out to everyone who thinks that like flying Han is an instant win. This guy was on my ass and almost won this game. He did 7 damage with Padme against Han in the first 2 rounds. That includes a shield +3 and another +3 like perfect hit. There is no guarantee when you're playing X-Wing. Everyone always has an aggressive idea and a way to win. This is 2 games in a row between First Order and Empire or Galactic Army of the Republic that I was very lucky to win. I'd say it's another 50-50 match that I just kind of rolled away from. I played it exactly perfect, but so did they. So between First Order and this list, there's 2 50-50s that I just walked away from very smartly and won on objectives. First Order is, I think, top rank right now. People think Rebels are smart with the Bistan Han. First Order is really where that skill ceiling is at its best. And this with the Padme, easy counter, but a lot of health. I think it's a A tier list at best.
Hey, look, somebody agrees with Alex. Alex said the same thing. All right, moving on to your day 2. You had to play 2 more rounds of Swiss. One of them was a draw because essentially you were undefeated.
Oh yeah, me and Stanley drew out.
Yeah, and so I don't. Did you guys play a game for fun at all, or no?
So I blew him out on that. I know what game you're looking at. He was a Grand Army of the Republic, right? And he lost pretty hardcore. It was like 25-5 or something.
No, this was against
The
Ryan.
Resistance.
Ryan.
Oh, we intentionally drew. There was no game.
Okay.
Oh, so you
Well,
guys
and
did not play? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, and that's fine. I didn't know if you played for fun. So when I did the LCQ, I intentionally drew my last round. I went 3-1, and then I drew the last round because I was like, screw it. Like the probability is too high that I'm just going to get in. So, but I played out the game against my opponent, and then it came down to the last round, and I was glad I drew because I ended up losing the last round, and I probably would not have gotten in. And I would have been pissed off. So the guy made shout out to that guy. So Obi-Wan, I love that guy. Is one of the best people to play against. I love that guy. He is so nice. Everybody's nice, but that guy, like specifically, like we debated it, and he's like, hey man, you just got to make a decision and roll the dice. He's like, you want to play me or not? Like if you lose, you can at least say you lost to somebody going to the world. So, like,
Jesus.
nah, fuck that. We'll just
I try to set aside all pretenses of arrogance. Like none of us are any smarter than anyone else. I don't think that's true. I will say that like when we were drawing, Staniszewski was kind of like, I am top rank for the day. And I'm like, okay, Stanley, that's fine. We can all go to bed all being undefeated, you and me, and then deal with it tomorrow. He was so, I don't know. I like him. He's a smart guy, really smart guy, but he seems so holier than me. And I was like, man, okay. That's all I have to say about Stanley.
Yeah,
I get to give him so much shit because he's a local of mine. And
he's definitely smarter than me. I'm not gonna dispute that. But that little extra of like, I'm actually top ranked for the day. I'm like, okay, man, that doesn't matter. We're both undefeated.
I told him that Lulo was definitely a good piece that you can put in your list. That is not just complete trash.
Oh, he didn't
he
believe
outright
that.
dismissed me, and then he put it in his list. Look at that. I get to give him so much shit. I'm so happy about that.
You should, Alex. You should have made a bet. That's what you got to learn from Tanner. You got to start making bets because then maybe he would have had to wear a shirt that says
no one
Alex
thought he was
right.
going to actually bring Lulo because he just kind of came out of nowhere.
I'm glad my character judgment wasn't completely out of the blue. I was like, man, that's a bit much, Danny, that you're just telling me that you're the best one.
Oh no, I mean he's a local of mine. I see him frequently. Like we talk all the time, so it's not
cool.
Super weird. I just get to give him shit.
So you want to hear a crazy story about Ryan and I? So
Ooh,
last year
for
because we're all from Michigan. Last year we played Michigan GT together, and Ryan and I make it to the top. Right, it's like super late because I never ran a tournament before, so I was super smart, and we decided to do all the rounds and then top cut all in one day. So I can do like 7 rounds in one day, and then so we talked about it like we could just roll off, right? We just roll off and see whoever wins road and then call it a night. And I was like, nah, I think we should play each other. I want to play this out. I've never like been to the top of a tournament before. So like to me, this is just going to be fun, even though it's like, 8:00 at night. So we did. And then we ended in a tie and had to roll off anyway. So it didn't fucking matter. It was like, God damn it. We literally just saved ourselves an hour and a half here. But Staniszewski is a good guy. He's one of our locals. He's
I
really
will
nice guy.
admit he's smarter than me. He's a smarter list builder. He executes better than I. It was just luck at the end of that tournament that I came out on top and not him.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to top cut. There's a top cut of 4. You played another Padme list as your top 4 opponent. I don't remember. This one wasn't on stream, was it, JJ?
No, it wasn't. No.
Okay.
Yeah, Staniszewski was playing Joshua on stream while I was doing this list. This was a blowout, and it was all dice luck. I laid Luke out as a bait. I wanted Luke to be shot by his whole list. And I had anticipated if Luke lives one round after doing that, I have already won. Luke took no damage on that exchange.
Wow.
All 6 of his ships shot Luke, and Luke took no damage. At that point, I had anticipated that I maybe had a 15% increase in the win chance, so that was maybe 65-35 at that point. Next round, Luke took 6 shots and didn't die, and I had won at that point. It was a 3-rounder.
We have your dice. Can we?
Yeah,
Will you auction
seriously.
your dice?
They say every great run consists of a bit of luck, a bit of prep, and that was my luck because none of my other games had any sort of dice luck at all. It's all average up to that point. And then when I hit the top 4, I got big luck. And I'm gonna shout out to Hayden. He was a good player, and he set up well. So he probably should have at least a 50-50 shot at that game. And it just happened to go my way.
Then the final, we kind of talked a little bit about it, but the final was a similar list except for Fen instead of the other lists. And I don't know, like I think we could talk. I don't know if everybody agreed. To me, the 5 ship usually beats the 4 ship in this instance in terms of if you have similar skill set and stuff like that. Like I how about this? Did the scenario that you played give you the advantage for that? Or do you
Absolutely. Assault on the satellite array with 5 ships is much easier than 4 ships. Also, not to cast shade on Joshua, but he took his turn 0 a lot less seriously than I did. I set up a path for Han to fly, and that early on, Han scored 2 objectives by himself on turn 2 or 3. And after he did that, I was like, I win. I just knew at that point that I was outside of some sort of insane math variance. Having Han claim 2 alone was the key to victory.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
say the 5 ships always is benefit. Like in salvage, you get an extra crate carrier. Like you can put 4 ships and carry 1 crate if that's all you want to do, and you have 4 ultra maneuverable ships. You know, or maybe not ultra, but 4 maneuverable ships that can do crazy thing.
Yeah, it's
So-
it was a pretty easy setup. I think Josh was a little burned out. I know he's better than what he set up, and if you can cut off 3 objectives from your opponent, that's huge. Like they were all on my side of the board. Sabine wasn't flying too well. I actually ran my Han and Sabine at the end of the game. It didn't even matter. I just cut off half of the objectives from him, and there was nothing he could do about it. And that was all turn 0.
So, all right. Anyone have anything else about the run that we want to talk about before we move on to store chance discussion?
Yeah, just one last question. So for the newer players who are thinking about using this same type of list archetype for like Han, what do you think is the biggest weakness for the list that a newer player may want to consider early on for this list?
If you're trying to crack a Han list, you have to be flying very aggressive. So range 1 Jedi, I'm talking about Mace Windu, Anakin, Obi-Wan, things that, and dash is going to be an effect. So once the next points change happens, you can bet that dash is going to be a problem. Get into range 1 of Han and others and blast, because Delta 7B or even a calibrated laser targeting Jedi, as soon as you get range 1 and start burning him down, he pays for it. You'll see a lot of Hans that just lie themselves out in the middle, just kill him. New players kill Han. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think in your world, with the way your Han is your Han is no offense, and don't take offense to this, but your Han is more predictable.
It's very simple. Yeah,
yours is the predictable Han, in my opinion. That's like when we. It's funny, you must have watched the other shows, because when we did say engine upgrade, chopper is better when you're not running chopper, like it's not a slight on anybody. It's just it's for me, it's the engine upgrade piece of that, right? Like I've literally used chopper and engine upgrade more times than I've used a trick shot, and maybe that's because I hate obstacles and I don't want to hit them. So like I'm not as good at getting the opponent to fly into the obstacles to get a trick shot off. That's probably more of my thing.
It's super fair. The trick shot coming up, if you had a good game, it came up 4 times. So that's what, 2 shots? You know, it's the Bistan is the problem. I think everyone knows that. But Bistan plus trick shot means that you have double the opportunity to hit a 4 dice or 5 dice shot. And then you're just pushing the math out of reach for any sort of counter. That's what I think about Han, is that his math is just too crazy. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm not an S tier player. I'm not Duncan or Bryant. You know, like if you play Han, you're gonna win. That's what I'm gonna say to people.
That's what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah,
You're not playing enough Han.
I tried some Han, then I can win.
I tried to play Grand Army of the Republic, and I lost. And my buddies was telling me, play Han, you'll win. I'm like, you're right, and I did. So before the points change, that's my advice to everybody. If you're trying to win, play Han.
All right. Well, thank you for that tournament run. You're welcome to stick with us. We're going to do Store Champ coverage. So if you want to join us, you can stick around. You don't have to stick around. I don't know how long JJ told you we cast for. So
I'll stick around. I got another beer in the tank. If you guys will have me.
Yes, absolutely. Hey,
he came prepared.
We are the For Fun show where you're the probably best, the highest winner on this show. I mean, look at what JJ did this weekend. So JJ can win his Nickel City League games. I'll tell you what. JJ wins Nickel City League games, but he can't win a Store Champ. Alex wins Store Champs, but doesn't win at Nickel City League. I just always come in like 3rd or 4th. Like I can't do any better than that, it seems. So there you go.
You're our highest winner on this podcast. Well, we had Duncan like a month ago.
Yeah,
fair enough. But yeah, so we're all the Joshes around here. We just nothing is serious except for our turn 0. For newer players, so I don't know. I don't know all the statistics of who watches the show or not, but I will say that if you are watching this for the first time, or if you are a newer player, we did actually do a turn 0 discussion 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. JJ will look it up and post it in our Discord. But we did turn 0 discussion, and Deslin, it's mostly you watching. There you go. Fair enough. And that is fair. Desi, the only person that's watched the show longer than Deslin has been JJ. So just as an FYI, JJ was our first fan ever, and now he's on the show. But we did do a turn 0 discussion like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I do have that up on our Academy 101. So if you're newer to the show and you're just joining in, or if you have friends that are newer to the show, we do a series called Academy 101 where we kind of break down different facets of the game, and we try to get it so that you guys can, learn from maybe not the experts, but learn from people that at least enjoy and want to do well while playing the game. So we do have some of that stuff up there. We have a whole chess X-Wing series. So if you want to hear me compare X-Wing to chess, we spent, I don't know, like 10 episodes doing that.
Yeah, we did. We broke it down. Yeah.
Anyway. So let's move on to our pattern analyzer segment to close the show out tonight. All right. This part of the show where you don't see any of our faces, now they come back. This part of the show is our pattern analyzer segment where we look at the winning list for Store Champs, and we look at the top list that we feel, or I'm just going to say the top list that Tanner feels is beneficial, because nobody else gives their input. So I just make up whatever list I feel looks cool that didn't win the tournament. One of these days, the two guys will have like input, and because like sometimes I pick one and I make them read it and they get pissy about it because they didn't. That's not one they liked. But if you want to know, I think Why you asked about where to find that stuff. We have a playlist called Academy 101 on our YouTube channel, and that is where you can check those out.
All right, I'll find it in moments.
Yeah. So we do, like, I have actually probably like 4 Academy 101s, but there's one that's a master list, and then I break down each of our segments. So if it is part of a big series like our chess wing, I have a whole chess wing series things. And JJ will get, I'll tell you what, JJ has nothing better to do. He'll find the links to each of the playlists and post them in the chat here in the next few minutes. So all right. The first store champ we have coming up is from Washington. They did a top cut of 2. I will say that currently right now we are going to cover store champs with 16 plus people. I apologize if you want us to cover your store champ but you didn't have 16 people, let me know, we'll do it. But I'm actively searching that out. Yeah, I know you want that, Alex. I did not put yours in there, but you're welcome to put it in there if you want.
Nothing new.
But no matter what however we feel, we know what the rules are and what they're going to enforce. So to me, it feels like let's cover the ones that are going to qualify at this point. And again, if you have something cool, I don't know, let us know. We'll cover whatever. We'll cover a 2-person store champ if you want. I mean, you might not want us to, because you might not want AMG to know, but we'll do it. All right, so this one had a top cut of 2. We had 2 4-0 players for this. It looks like we have a winner here that has a very similar list to our winner from Nova. So I'll tell you what. So the way we work this is we ask everybody to read a list. So I don't know what your favorite faction is, but you're welcome to go ahead and read the top list from Rai, who won the whole tournament. Go ahead, Wyatt. Or what?
Where would I find
Wyatt? Jesus.
Yeah, you call me Wyatt. You did.
All right.
Where do I click on that
at? So it should be page 7 of the stream doc.
All right. Can you straight link me it, JJ?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I'll tell you what. We'll let Alex cover the top list. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay, so we have the wrong Han Solo with Perceptive Co-Pilot, Bistan, Trickshot, and the Falcon. Boy Luke, Jukio, Sabine with Beskar, and then a Holokand, because A-Wings are too fast. I don't know. I would prefer Wedge, honestly, but I do see people play Holokand a lot.
Are you on the wrong one?
Am I on the wrong one?
You are. We'll go down to Firefly, South Carolina store champ. There you go.
There it is.
I'm ready now. I'm ready now. If you guys,
he's got it.
I was saving that for Wyand, right?
This is the winners list, right?
Yeah.
Yes. This is very smart. Sabine Wren with Beskar reinforced plating on the TIE Fighter. So if anyone who is not flying Sabine Wren, you should be. It's 2 points, and you can cancel a crit. Wedge Antilles with crack shot, marksmanship, and vector cannons. Big mistake. Should be flying Predator and marksmanship instead. But just a fine. Boy Luke, 5 points of treasure. Kia Venzi with concussion missile. So this guy almost went down the right path. He with Wedge and Keo, he almost made the right decision. But with Keo, you have to take Juke. It's too much of a threat. Just like Wampa on the Empire side, Keo with Juke is an existential threat that people can't handle. And Han Solo with Bistan and Perko, Chopper, Engineer's Grade, and Millennium Falcon. This is a list for people that are smarter than I am. The Chopper and Engine Upgrade gives you extra options should you be blocked. I think the real lesson is to just never ever be blocked on Han, and you can pull it off, guys. It's easy to do.
All right. The other list that I picked is the other list is another Han list, but it had 2 Clenran volunteers. JJ, what the hell is that list?
All right, so we got the standard loadout Han, I'm going to call it, with engine upgrade, Bistan, Chopper, and Perceptive Copilot. The 2 Fang Fighters, which are the Clanren Volunteers, with Beskar reinforced plating, shield upgrade, and marksmanship. Kiovenzi with concussion missiles and Lone Wolf, and then of course being run with Beskar reinforced plating. It's nice to see those actual 2 Fang Fighters in this list there, with the shield upgrade and Beskar reinforced plating. Makes them actually very, very tanky, especially at range 1, being able to essentially make it hard for them to get critted and to like put any significant critical damage on their ships, with that shield upgrade being that initial buffer for any additional crits that make it through the Beskar reinforced plating. It's definitely a really interesting list. I wonder how it would do in the long run, or like what type of archetypes that this went against, just to see how well they flew those fangs. But great job making 3-1 at the tournament.
All right. Next one is the store champ JJ scrubbed out of.
Yeah, big
Alex, go ahead and tell us what list you were trying to tell us about beforehand.
Hey, listen, I scrolled a little bit too far. We're fine. Yeah, the totally correct Han with Perceptive, Vistan, Trick Shot, and Title. Cough. Boy Luke, Jukio, Sabine with Beskar, and then Holockend. Scroll back like a minute to hear my opinions on that.
Hall's hot.
Yeah.
Is it just because you get the free focus? Is that why? Is that why people like them? Like, is it better than Wedge though?
You get the double modded advanced proton torpedo if you make it there and he lives. It's just,
or Hall can double mod himself. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you get the double modded one because he just rolls up, takes a focus, and spends the charge to get the red lock.
All right,
yeah.
Fair enough, I guess. I don't know. It's that
3 points.
It is 3 points. I don't like that. I don't know. I don't like I can't take dorsal to it or something on them. So
well, you have dorsal as well. It's dorsal
do you?
advanced proton. Yeah,
Yeah, dorsal APT. Yeah.
All right. Well, I like them now.
I don't like it specifically in that kind of list because you have a bunch of really fast ships, and you're a Y-wing, so he tends to just get focused down.
Yeah,
not gonna go anywhere
because your ordnance is range 1, and if you're range 1, you have a dead Y-wing.
Fair enough. All right. The Warbot Zero, good buddy from Nickel City there, is running another list. This one is essentially similar to the Padme list, but instead it has Mace Windu 7B with Heightened Perception R4P17, Contrail with Crackshot R3, Best Title, and Seismics. Not sold on the Crackshot on Contrail, but it can be good. It can be good. That's like a Duncan Howard holdover here. I don't know. I would rather have proton bombs personally, or concussion bombs or something. I don't know.
You can do concussions bombs if you have dedicated. Just throwing that out there.
Right, there you go. See? Thank you.
Now, I do want to make a shout out for this, for everybody over at Firefly Games. This was a fantastic event that they threw out there. Definitely want to give a shout out to Larry T, who came up. We ended up taking a photo, posting out on the Discord there. It was great to meet everybody there. For my 2 games that I ended up playing there, my first game that I played was against Andrew Block, also known as Velvet Buddha on Discord. We had a fantastic game. We just made a lot of wrong decisions, but he managed to pull it out at the end to win an assault. Won my second match, and then my third match was a rematch actually from a top 4 that I had way back in 2019 against Mark Jarrett, back when I was playing at a regional event in Melbourne, Florida. It was great to see him again and play him out again. That one also was super close. He was flying a scum list and did very well. He beat me by 1 point. His Fen route just being able to just slip away from Vader 3 times and got the win there. But it was a great time, and I'm just glad that we were able to get the world's invite to the winner of the event.
Yeah, that's always beneficial. All right.
Yeah.
The next one is a Spain tournament, right? It's a Spain tournament. And essentially, we have almost the same list. I don't know. I'm not going to go over it. It is the standard Rebel list here. But one of the lists I found interesting, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because you will all make fun of me for it, so I'm not going to do it. But Wyan, like, what is the top unique 3-in-1 list that this gentleman Phantasma ran? There you go. I can say Phantasma.
Yeah, there you go.
Crap. What did he run? Because there's a Kanan Jarrus, and that seems pretty unique compared to what we normally see.
So I can't really see the list in front of me, but you're talking about the KG, the Kanan list with the IG-11 attached to it. Yeah, that's the Suicide Kanan, right?
No, it's a different one.
Oh, okay. Could someone link me the list you guys are talking about?
Sure. I'll send it to you again. Yeah, no worries.
It's like J7's got me.
I got you.
Yeah, make sure you send him a link that allows him to view it instead of just the regular link.
Yeah.
Good old JJ.
There you go.
Oh, okay, so this is the Kanan Jarrus with in the Rebel side with Zeb, Hera, Compassion, Veteran Turret Gunner, Ablative Plating, Fire Control System, and Ion Cannon Turret. So this is the one with Dutch and Kanan. Not a very good list, all in all, in my opinion. But it will throw people who are inexperienced. And the reason for that being, you just throw a big ship that's going to be tossing 4 dice with unlimited mods right in the middle. I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, but that's what really hits people hard when they fight a Kanan like this. His support features seem strong with Fen Rao, but other than that, a pretty middling list in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think the piece that is kind of cool is he made 3-in-1, but he had 2 fake fighters, right? And like, we don't see that very often.
You don't see that. But Deco Fen are actually pretty closely tied to in Rebel. I've been seeing some sort of champs where Fen and Padeka are running it alone pretty much at the end of the situation.
Yeah. It's crazy. So
too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The next store champ we have is the Firestorm Games in Cardiff, UK. This one, Dom actually did not take CIS. So, Dom, I don't know what the fuck you're doing, man. Where's my CIS list here, baby? I've talked to you for how long and you ain't running no damn CIS list. So, where's my CIS list in here? The top 4 were freaking all resistance. So, like, it's like the UK said, hey, let's run FO. Oh, we mastered FO. Now let's run resistance all of a sudden. So this will tickle Alex's bucket here. There also was a top scum list that I was excited about. Alex, which list do you want to cover? Do you want to cover the resistance or the scum list?
You know, I will do that resistance list because this was my opponent at Nova. That JJ fed him with my list. He's like, yeah, Alex, you're flying the Republic. Do chance engagement against resistance. That's a good matchup. Yeah, so congratulations to Mark. Great guy. He was halfway drunk while we were playing. It was like 10 o'clock at night for him. It was fantastic. This was the exact list he brought against me. He had Zori with Dorsal, Wartime Plasma, R4, LO with Heroic Swarm Tactics and Jamming Beam, Snap Wexley with R6D8, Heroic and Ferrosphere, the Nizadoza with Barrage Rockets Marksmanship, and Jess Pava with M9G8 and Baffle. And in the game that he played against me, he would always Swarm Tactics Jess up to hit really hard at I5.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see Jess with M9G8s instead of like a BB Astromech just to have those charges. But yeah, being able to Swarm Tactics just to 5 to have those really big shots there at I5, along with Zori and Elo. Yeah, that definitely sounds painful.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
What would you say is like if you could replace one upgrade on one of your ships? What would that be?
for this list. Hard not to put M9G8 on like LO.
Yeah,
Wartime
It's
loadout.
cool, whatever, but like M9G8, man. Granted,
rough
he was
call.
using that 2-target lock LO, so like LO now has mods. But just Pava, man. I'd like to use her ability.
True enough.
Yeah.
So true.
So, but they also have wartime loadout. Wouldn't you get rid of wartime loadout too?
I mean, yes,
Not with
but
Zori.
not for
but
Zori.
Yeah.
I'm a personal hater of wartime loadout because boosting and also calculating Z90 or Y wings, super good.
It's super fun. All right, JJ, what was the top scum list that couldn't be the bride today? Was just a bridesmaid.
So this is straight up crispy all over this list here. So we got Fenround the Fang Fighter with Debris Gambit shield upgrade. Of course, crispy would load that out different. Dengar with expert handling, Jammy being Greedo, and contraband cybernetics, punishing one, and R5P8. Dirge with proton cannons, contraband cybernetics, and engine upgrade. Dace Bonearm in the HWK with a protective gleb, contraband cybernetics, engine upgrade, and multi-crow title to round off the list there. Definitely a strong higher initiative list with the exception of Dace, who's I4. That Fenrau and Dengar can definitely punish really good. Fenrau being able to use the Bree Gambit to give himself an evade is definitely a much more defensive-minded Rao that wants to, like, depending on the situation, can take that evade. Fenrau with an evade and Concordia face-off at range 1, you're going to have a hard time pushing in damage against Fenrau. And yeah, it's definitely a solid list there. Dace Bonearm being able to coordinate Fenrau early on if he needs to, and just hold on to those focuses with Moldy Crow. Definitely a solid way to really double mod the shots for either Fenrau or Dengar, whoever you need it on.
I still like Dace with Ahsoka better. Just personally, is funner to run.
No one plays that but Zach.
And me, I play that when I play Scum. Since they got rid of my 3-point Kanan that can do anything.
Since they jacked up Torkoal to 6 points, you know.
I'd never run Torkoal, so that'll never be a thing that Tanner runs. All right. Family time games in Indiana, which I kind of feel silly. I didn't know this was going on. We probably could have gone to this. It's not super far. Well, for you, I guess, Alex, it is. But for me, it wasn't super far. I could have gone to this. I did not know that it existed. So the winner had, actually, the winner had a very similar list to what I played for Nickel City League. It had the 3 arcs. But then it had Kickback, Axe, and Slider, which is a little bit different because the other one had Anakin in it. But Jeremy, if you're watching this later and post, that might be something you want to pick up. Like, this looks pretty decent too. All of them are SOCs, with Axe and Kickback having the Diamond Borons. It's weird with Kickback having that Diamond Boron, but probably pretty good. I think we talked about that couple weeks ago, didn't we, Alex? That was something that you and I had a conversation about.
Yeah. If you don't want that evade, Diamond Boral missiles are pretty fun.
Yeah,
I think
Or don't wanna
SOC
pass the evade, you still take the evade.
is being underutilized. There's a lot of good ships in there, especially the Torrents with 6 health instead of 5. Those are good ones to spy on.
no, I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think the SOCs are being slept on, and I do think that they are somewhat decent tech against Han to some extent.
I think they are.
You know, being able to pass a lot of that around. Now, just could you imagine if there was even dedicated in there on top of that? Like, it would be unstoppable.
Yeah.
Being able to pass the evade token already is pretty hot for Siege of Coruscant.
Yeah. And
What could take dedicated? That Slider instead of this garbage sync console.
all right. That's fair. Fine. That's fair.
He shoots before Jag. He's not benefiting from it.
I don't know. I agree with you, Alex. I don't. It is what it is, right? Like, dedicated just as a better on slider. So, but this is a cool list. I actually kind of think this is kind of a cool list that we haven't seen a specific variant of in that. Alex, what did Colfax run? Our good old friend Colfax from Nickel City, baby, running some B-Wing. And Lando, what the hell did Colfax take?
You know, does he listen? Because he took Lando instead of on here. So Lando with hopeful 9-nub Leia, agile ablative plating engine and Falcon. Boy Luke. Braylon with Mark Saville, collision detector, seismics, delayed fuses, and the config, and then Wedge with marksman chip and elusive. You can Mark Saville people if you collision detector. That's the thing you could bring for 10 points. Or like 8 points. I think collision detector went down a little, but yikes. That's the list.
I mean, do you just like fly onto the rock, hand the strain out, and like because you do the one straight onto it, and then you collision
you have to
detector
go
and then
through it. Mark Saville doesn't work if
Yeah.
you land on the obstacle.
Yeah, so honestly, I would have dropped the delayed fuses and seismics for trick shot if I'm going to go with this, because, you know, why not, right? Mod as many dice as you can with Braylon's ability.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You can do some dirty things like just roll up with a focus with Braylon and then Lando a lock roll if you're spicy. I don't know. Wedge can reposition at 5 with Lando's help. Also, Leia's pretty nice, especially opens up that B-Wing dial.
Yeah, the Leia is pretty, I think, dope with that.
It's not the kind of Lando I would run because I still want 9-nub Perceptive Copilot and Bistan, but it worked. They got 4th.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
3-1.
All right. So we only got 2 minutes left. And so I'm going to quickly burn through the Wizards chest. Essentially the list that won that. So it's out of Colorado. Liam ended up dropping, but I do have Liam's list in here because I thought it was pretty cool. So the winner ended up being the Padme Anakin Jag Wolf oddball list for it. So that was the winner. The top person, Liam, ran Boy Luke, Gina Moonsong, and I love Gina's last name. That's my favorite part of this whole thing. But she had fire control, proton cannons, plasmas, and S-foils. Our boy Hull, then Sabine with Lone Wolf, and then Leebo, and that's why I had to put it in here, because Leebo went 4-0, baby, and is the notorious contraband Dead Man's Ablated Plating Outrider title. I know you don't get the double calculates. I ran the double calculated one, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, getting double calculate and spending it to get a thing. But Notorious on Leebo is just so much better. Like,
I would rather take the customizable Rebel Leebo than the standardized one for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I think really only that's going to come into account if you're thinking ahead and thinking like Han is not going to rate 7 points for very long, right? So is Leebo going to be the 6-point option going forward, or is it going to be a better 6-point option? Boy Luke can't stay at 5. That's crazy. Han at 7 is insane. So Rebel is due for a shakeup. The only reason to play that list is to bet on Leebo.
Yeah. I like this list. Like, I will props to Liam. Like this is a little bit different than what I've been running Leebo lately, just because I just think it's fun, and I want to run a YT 2400 that isn't stupid like
Dash
the original ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought this is a cool list. I did think that was a pretty cool list. So
yeah, definitely. I know in my locals, Matt has been testing out a Han Leebo build, and I gotta say, Leebo can definitely be a threat even at I3 with that Notorious. It's something that you gotta definitely keep in mind.
yeah, you can ask Corey. Dice do run good sometimes when he couldn't burn my Leebo down with like 4 shots. It's probably the same as your
Shouldn't be
game.
able to burn your Leebo down with 4 shots, just
No,
in
no.
general.
No. Like, yeah, but he already had like 3 damage on him or whatever. Like,
Oh.
like then 4 more shots that went into him, all modded, that just couldn't do anything. Like, just saying. Like, I don't know. Sometimes
enough.
dice select does help a little bit. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I kind of like this version over the False Transponder Codes version. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I'm not sold on the ablated plating, but I guess it just allows you to not take the
Open up a
damage,
lane.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just
Yeah,
allows
that's
you
kind
to
of the
do whatever
only
you want.
watchable thing.
So I think there could be a conversation around that piece of it, but like the Notorious Contraband like feels like a staple right now. Like with like, oh my god, like Leebo at being like an I3 too. Like, yeah, hey, go ahead and shoot at him. You know, go ahead. I don't like not having double calculates because I will say double calculates is totes my goats for Leebo, but give me an IG-88 droid on him.
I mean, there's K2SO, that you could fit in there with Ezra somewhere. But yeah.
It's like for 6, he sounds great. For 7, he sounds awful.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us tonight on our Planning Phase Syndicate. I apologize. We're a few minutes over time. I should probably apologize more often. Maybe I'll be more on time.
I don't think you should apologize. You guys did a really good job. This is excellent.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure having you on. Can I call you Wyatt now? Can I just like rename you?
Sure.
Wyatt?
Call me whatever you want.
Burn that bridge now.
My name is irrelevant. My existence is irrelevant. Just call me whatever you want.
Mr. Court.
Mr. Centipede.
I do apologize. I did not mean to call you Wyatt.
That's fine. It doesn't matter. I know my name's ridiculous.
I think his catchphrase now is like, "I'm going to take you to court" every time he like goes in and beats somebody.
Oh, there you
go. Doesn't
that
matter what you call me in the end of things.
Well, you're supposed to say it doesn't matter what you call me as long as you don't call me late for dinner. Boom, dad joke.
Oof.
Solved the meta right there.
Call me late for drinks, I'm gonna be mad.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure to have you on. It was a pleasure to talk about your run. And again, congratulations. Now you get to run whatever the fuck you want for the rest of the year.
Oh, it's gonna be TIE Bombers plus Vizier plus Vader. That's what I'm running for.
Should run my scum list, a real list.
Damn, do I hate myself? I'm running scum like that. I got Dengar queued up. That's about it.
Nah, we got after the show. He'll share his scum list with you, and you should play with. I'm telling you, you should play with it. It's at least at minimum, it's fun to run. At minimum, it's fun to me.
I want to see it.
Christ.
So, but anyway, thank you all for joining us. We talked a little bit last week. If you would like to become a Patreon, you're more than welcome to join the show. We will be doing our Patreon only monthly cast, which we're debating between us what we want to do. We don't know whether we're going to do like an episode where we play a game against each other and one of us has to commentate.
Hell yeah.
And just like criticize the hell out of each other, be like, that was a fucking blah 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 blah. I guess I shouldn't swear. That was a bad move or whatever. We don't know. I don't know. Or maybe the host, whoever commentates, picks the list that the other person has to fly, and then we do that as a Patreon only show. I don't know. We're working through those details. So if you are a Patreon and you want to recommend what the hell we should do for a Patreon only show, let us know. We could also do like we could also like do a series that becomes like a private series for only Patreons, and then we release it 6 months later for everybody else. We could do something like that too. But either which way, thank you all for joining us. We will be back later this week with new Ahsoka content.
Yeah.
It probably might not be Wednesday this week. It might be Thursday. Just because we may not have the ability to do casts on Wednesday, just so you know, JJ. But we will be back this week with Ahsoka content in the middle of the week to appease you. If you live in Michigan and you want to attend an Amazing Sword Champ, we have one next weekend out in Livonia,
yes.
Livonia, Michigan.
Great. I have prize support out the ass. I have printed cards for every faction and then some. And
Yes, so-
participation trophies. That's great.
So if you live in Michigan, or if you're JJ who wants to drive to Michigan, just to hang out with us, come join us. It will be a fun thing. I got to go get approval from my wife now. Now that my car's fixed, my other car's fixed, I got to go tell her, hey, by the way, I got some Star Champ stuff I want to go
There's
to.
so many people that are like, I want to sign up, but I didn't sign up yet. And I'm like, guys, no, like if all of you sign up, we actually have over 16 people to show up.
Yeah, so yes, A. Yep. Come sign up, A. But yes, if you it would be awesome if you want to come out. I have a high probability of making that tournament next weekend, as long as the wife doesn't have something planned for us. I will definitely be there. We did move the one that I had scheduled for the 23rd to November 11th. For now, that's when the store would like to do it, and hopefully you can all make it out to that one as well. And then we have Michigan GT coming up the 6th of October, or is it the 7th, the 6th or 7th of October, whatever that Saturday is that weekend. And we would love, like, if you're listening to this and you're in Michigan or Indiana or Ohio or Chicago and you want to go, please sign up. We always have amazing prize support. We literally take all of the money that we get and they purchase ships and give them back to the audience. I will have card prize support from our Patreon pool that I will be donating. We also partnered with Alex, and Alex created some special Michigan GT cards that we will be giving out as well. So we really need people to sign up. I would love to have 32 people there so we could give out 2 Stork Champ kits, because that's technically what I have. So if we could get 32 people there, that's what I have space for. I would absolutely love to put on a 32 person tournament. And I'll tell you what, if we get 32 people there or we get 31 people there, I will play the first round and drop, or I will play the first round and just concede every game for everybody, so that way we can give out both store champs invites. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. I'm glad JJ is now a Lions fan and has his own Lions mascot.
Have fun with being a Lions fan, let me tell you.
Yeah, thank God JJ has joined the ranks of the Lions. With that being said, thank you all. Have a good night, and we will see you